Hello, hello, hello. You made it. Not only did you make it at the right time, but you made it into the right room for the March 2022 Learning and Development Roundtable on how to make online meetings more interactive and effective. So I know that at some places in the world that time zones are changing. So this was a particularly tricky time zone to calculate. So you made it here. Delighted that you're here. Welcome, Carrie. Welcome, Mariana. Giovanna. It's just so lovely to have you here. Mario's just coming in. So just give me in the chat if you can just let me know that audio is okay. You can hear me, you can see me. Let me know in the chat. Hi, Mario. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to this roundtable. You belong here. I've been running this roundtable for more than 9 years now. Great. Thanks, Hydran. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Carrie. So know that you belong here. You did the hardest part, which is carving out time, whether this is your morning, your evening, your afternoon, or the middle of the night, maybe for some folks. So welcome. This is meant to be a really supportive community focused on learning, acknowledging that we all need to receive things, support and learning. We can never get too much support or too much learning. And also that it's a two-way street, that we have lots to give in terms of giving support to other people in our community and also teaching what we know. So I know that there are many, many wise people in our group with lots of experience. So I look forward to hearing about your experience of what's worked for online meetings for you and what hasn't worked. I'll just ask you to mute if you haven't already, just in terms of background noise. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Welcome, Hydran. Lovely to have you here. And Mario has just come in. Melanie, hello. Mirjam, Philippe, welcome. So let me know in the chat, is this your first roundtable? Have you been to a few others? Let me know in the chat. And also, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself briefly before we get started with the content. My name is Leanne Reagan, and I have been working online for many years now. Welcome, Mario, rather. We've got some first timers, which is great. So let me know in the chat, which of these things would you like to hear more of? So put the number in the chat. So would you like to hear a little bit more by way of introduction about Zoom bombing, number 1, number 2, COVID gift, magnetic poetry, number 3, virtual team building and online dating, number 4, IT disaster turned resilience, or number 5, work-life balance during COVID. Janine is coming in from South Africa. Welcome. I'm just going to mute folks here just in case you're not already muted. Okay, so let's see. So I see Ellen says number 3. Okay, so virtual team building. So I, for the past 2+ years now, have done a ton of virtual team building. And in fact, I created this exercise where you should date your colleague. So one of the exercises that I've done with a bunch of teams is created some really intriguing questions about your professional life and your personal life. And then we do this speed dating where folks get into breakout rooms and spend a few minutes asking and answering these questions. So that's been a real gift, is transferring what I do in person, some of the work I do in person, for example, team building, to online. Okay, and let's see the next one. Janine was also interested in 3. Melanie was 3 too. Hi, Melanie. Mario is 1 and 4. Okay, Zoom bombed. Oh, so yeah, so it was this summer, I guess, last summer. And I was leading a global international leadership program with a team of folks. And it was my turn to deliver some content and we had the powers that be had decided to share, make the link public, the link to join the call. So we had someone join who, as we're doing an exercise, started to annotate the screen and put, let's just say, an anatomical body part, a drawing of an anatomical body part on the screen. So it was a great example. You know, we worked as a team to get that person out of the room, and also to talk to the participants about what does it mean? I turned it into a learning experience. So what does it mean when you open up your work to be collaborative and to work together and be part of a team? And some of the dangers of that is when you open up things, sometimes you'll get people that aren't aligned with your values, etc. Welcome to those who've just come in, Elia, Frazana. Let's see who else has just joined us. Rose is just coming in a minute. Angsar, it's so lovely to have everyone here. I'm so pleased that you joined us. Sandra, Santiago, welcome. Okay, I'll do one more. I think someone said 5. Oh, so work-life balance during COVID. So I do a lot of consulting for the United Nations, and one of the courses that they asked me to design, I guess a year ago now, a year and a half, was a course on work-life balance during COVID. So that's been a real gift. I got to do a lot of research and talk to a lot of heads of HR and the ombudsman in our region, etc., and create and deliver that course. So for UN staff, I think I've got the dates later on in the workshop. I'll share those dates with you. You're welcome to join that course if that's of interest to you. Okay, Miriam is saying, my perception was to hear more about how to improve online events, how to capture an online audience who are more easily distracted. So Miriam, these are things that are just ways to introduce myself. This is not the roadmap for today. These are just some fun ways to introduce myself today. We'll get to the roadmap in just a second of our workshop today. So as a learning and development expert, I work in 3 areas. So basically, I do working better together workshops for clients on conflict resolution, culture, communication, all sorts of different topics, team building. Then I do a lot of digital engagement work. So I work with, for example, tech tools for ease and efficiency. Welcome, Cecilia. And then I also work, thirdly, with subject matter experts who need to design and deliver powerful learning. So those are kind of the 3 things that I work in. Your turn. I would love it if you, on the count of 3, unmute and say hello to your colleagues. Say hello to the team today. So on the count of 3, unmute and say hello in whatever language you wish. So 1, 2, 3, go ahead.
Oh, it's
Hello,
amazing.
thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice. Okay, lovely. And let me know in the chat, what's a lesson that you've learned about online meetings in the last 2 years? So I'll put this question in the chat. But in the last 2 years, what's a lesson, maybe a hard won lesson, that you've learned about online meetings? Santiago saying marginal cost of creating meetings is 0. Okay. So do you mean the cost of creating online meetings is 0, maybe, Santiago? Janine, much worse when participants have cameras off. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one because it also can be an issue of equity and access and inclusion, asking people to turn their cameras on. I had a really interesting conversation with the ombudsman about this, actually. Time consuming, says Cecilia. But Bathsheba says it's draining. Yeah, being in online meetings is the same as being about 50 centimeters away from folks in an elevator and not being able to look away. I read that piece. I thought that was interesting. It's tiring. It's hard to prevent oneself and attendees from doing other things, as Andrea. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the engagement. Philippe says online meetings work well, but presential ones are still unbeatable. Oh, when you're in present, okay. Mariana, attention is key. Distractions are very regular, yes. Rose, burnout from frequent virtual meetings. Hydran, we ourselves and all participants are expected to respond to all sorts of matters at the same time, so the demands are high. Elia, focusing on output is possible, but bringing in personal topics is much harder, okay. And Santiago, I mean, it's very easy to set up a meeting if poorly planned. I see it can consume other people's time unnecessarily. Good point, good point. And Joe says, have to sit too long and can feel too intense. Oh, yes, 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 absolutely, too intense. Okay, well, we're going to, in a moment, I'll just share the roadmap with you of the plan for today, which you will have seen in the agenda, but we'll go over that in a minute. But in the meantime, I'd love to turn it over to you and just grab a pen and paper, or you can do this in an electronic note, but I invite you to make as many appointments with folks in our room as possible. And what do I mean by that? I'd like you to make, and you're not going to have these meetings, but I'd like you to try to make as many meetings with people in the group as possible. So I might say in the chat, or I might DM Carrie and say, Carrie, are you free at 1? And if she or he or they says yes, I would write that name at 1 o'clock, and that person would write my name at 1 o'clock. So grab a pen or a piece of paper, or you can do this in an electronic note. Just make a list of 1 to 12, and feel free to make as many meetings with as many people as you can. So you can unmute and ask people, you can DM people, you can put comments in the chat. Go ahead. So I'll give you a couple minutes for that. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the chat. So go ahead and make your appointments. Okay, Cheyenne is just joining us. Hi, Cheyenne, welcome. Folks are just doing an exercise about making appointments, kind of pretend appointments with each other. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, or you can do this in an electronic note and see if you can make appointments with people. So for example, I might put in the chat, Mario, are you free at 10? And he, she, or they could say yes or no. If they say yes, then I would write their name beside 10 o'clock, and they would write my name beside 10 o'clock. So go ahead. Lovely. Folks are asking me. This is great. I love that you're asking me, and you'll see later why I'm going to very politely decline your lovely invitations. So, and I think what I'll do, I'm just going to pause the recording for now. Okay, so thank you for playing along with that. Keep those names. We'll come back to that exercise. And let me know, how many appointments did you get? Let me know in the chat. How many appointments did you get? And there's no shame. If you got 1, that's totally fine. So how many appointments did you get? Let me know in the chat. Mary got 5 plus everyone. Sandra got 5. Great. Anyone else? 5. Oh, lots of 5s. Okay, that's great. So you program breaks for yourself. Oh, Cheyenne, none. Okay, so your task, folks, your task as we go along is to make sure you get a minimum of 1. You'll need 1 appointment. Okay, we've got 5 and 3. Great. Okay, thanks, Cheyenne. Okay, so make sure that you have at least 1 appointment, and we'll come back to this later. So make sure you keep those notes. Okay, let's jump into some housekeeping really quickly before we get into our content. So there is obviously a lot going on in the world right now, and I know that everyone comes to be together with different contexts and different things going on in their life. So some of you might be very, very close to, for example, the war that's happening right now. in Ukraine, and some of you might be further away from that. So, and have many other challenges. So, as you're here, as you're gathered, as you're with our beautiful team today, if you find yourself thinking, "Oh, I can't do this. I just you're just having some negative self-talk, you're not being kind to yourself," think of those thoughts as uninvited guests, right? So let this be a place where you can fill up your tank today, you can get some support, you can have some fun, and for the moment, you can leave the outside world behind. Hi, Pam. Welcome. Okay, Rose is saying it's a bit hard to catch up with the requests and responding at the same time. That's great. That's great that you've got lots of requests. Okay, so please make the most. You made it here. That was the hardest part. So make the most of your learning and participate. Ask questions, offer ideas, suggestions. There's a lot of wisdom in our group, so make sure that you share that. Also, I get questions about this every month. So I am very happy to create a workbook for our roundtable topic today. I record the session, both audio and video. I share the PowerPoint, etc. But only roundtable members get those resources. So if you're not a member and you want to be, it's free. That's the link in the chat. So make sure that you're a member, because again, only members get access to those resources. I also timestamp the videos. So what that means is there'll be coded timestamps, and you can click on that timestamp and go directly to that part of the meeting. So if you're looking for something later on, you can use that timestamped piece, and it makes it really fast and easy. Hi, Marlene. Welcome, welcome. Okay, and know that if you've RSVP'd for today, of course, which you had to do, that's the only way to get into the roundtables, that's different from becoming a member. So this is what the membership sign up looks like. And also, if you get value from our time together, please help grow our community. Take that link and share it with a colleague or a friend. I would really, really appreciate that. If you get value, if you like what we're about here, please share that link. If you are a UN staff, if you're not a UN staff, you can just rest for a second here, and you want to get credit for this in terms of your UN mandated annual training, you need to sign the attendance form, which is in the chat there. Mark your calendars. Our next roundtable is April 21st. We're going to do how to do hybrid. So we're just getting, kind of getting our feet under us for these online events and meetings. And now we're being asked to do hybrid, which is where some people will be in person and some people will be online. So I've done a bunch of them so far and lots to share. So mark your calendars for that. And then May 27th, I'll do a shortened version of the work-life balance during COVID. June and July, we don't meet. And then in August, I'll do a session on intercultural conflict resolution. So here are all of those times, and I'll put them in the chat here, and you can copy those if you wish. Know that we alternate meetings, so we can include other time zones. So we generally meet the third Friday or the Friday morning East Africa time, or third Thursday in the evening. The time zones make it tough, especially when it's daylight savings time. So again, congratulations, especially if you're a country that just shifted daylight savings. It makes it particularly challenging to find the right time. I am thinking of shifting to Thursday mornings, East Africa time, to be more welcoming of the Arab region. So stay tuned for that. And then also, I really appreciate your feedback, and I think is Olga here today? Take a quick, not yet. I know she RSVP'd. Nope, not yet. So every month I ask for your feedback, which is really, really valuable. I'm here to serve you and make your time here as valuable as possible. So one way that really helps me serve you is to get your feedback. So every month I share this survey link And as a thank you for your feedback, you get entered to win, if you wish, you can be entered to win a free Life Lenses assessment. And last month's winner is Olga. So I will send that off to Olga and let her know. So please take a couple of minutes after our workshop today and fill in that survey. It's really, really helpful. It also asks you about next month. So it's also a chance to get input on what you want to have for the next month's topic, which is hybrid, how to do hybrid. Okay, and I mentioned other learning opportunities. So May 11th and 12th, I'm teaching tips and tools to increase your work-life balance during COVID. And that's in the afternoon. And then in the morning on those days, I'm doing effective online presentations. These are for UN staff. So you can contact the Staff Training and Development unit of UNON if any of that is of interest. Okay, so quick recap. Participate. Sign up to be a member to get the resources if you wish. Invite others to sign up to grow our community. Sign the attendance sheet if you're a UN staff. Mark your calendar with upcoming dates and fill in the survey for a chance to win and also to give feedback. And if you're interested, there's some other learning opportunities there. And just another reminder, because I get this every month, only members get the resources from the roundtable. So make sure you're signed up. Okay, any questions before we dive into our content now? Any questions? I'll share that membership link again. Hi, Penny. I hope you can, I know you're having some audio issues, so hopefully you're okay there. Okay, then let's dive into our roadmap. So we're going to talk about my secret sauce for getting folks into the right mindset. We're going to talk about how to ditch monkey see, monkey do by figuring out what your bias is when you're doing online meetings and how to ditch that bias so you're more inclusive and accessible. And then we'll do several simple, with a capital S, tips and techniques for increasing engagement. And then we're going to do a piece on FGLAs, which is all about taking your online meetings to the next level. And then we'll do some really simple tech tools that you can use, you can select from for your online meetings. Okay, so let's jump in. Okay, so secret sauce about online meetings, it's all about mindset, right? It's all about how do you get your folks into the right mindset. So let me know in the chat, any ideas for how to do that? How do you get folks in the right mindset? Question in the Okay, yeah, have an icebreaker, says Rose. Starting with a question, nice, Vanessa. Sharing the agenda before the meeting, says Sandra. Yeah, those are all great examples. And what you've all described there, Rose is saying turn on your camera. Yeah, that's a tricky one because state the purpose of the meeting, says Joe. Yeah, absolutely. The camera thing is really hard because it assumes that people have bandwidth necessary to do that. And it assumes that they're comfortable showing their background. So depending on who you're working with, when I was researching the work-life balance workshop content with the ombudsman, he talked about how there was some real stress for local staff who didn't have, some of them didn't have a dedicated office space and maybe had kids running around. So, and their supervisor had wanted them to turn cameras on. So there was some stress there. Rose is saying turning on the camera for the meeting organizer, not everyone. Yeah, and also you can tell people, give them options to turn the camera on and off. So, which is what I usually do in my online meetings. So I'll say, you know, if you're able to, now's the time to turn on your cameras, if you're able to do that. So giving people choices. Okay, so great ideas. And the ones that you have all described, most of them, are what we call pre-engagement techniques. So to get folks in the right mindset, we want to pre-engage. So before the online meeting or event even starts, uh, we want to get people interested and uh, focused. So here are a bunch of resources I'll share with you in the chat. Just give me 2 seconds here. So when I send out an email to folks that I'm doing a training with, I will always introduce myself, and I will always give them that link to my bio if they want to find out more about me. And I will always say, make sure to run your mouse over my picture and see what happens. So someone clicked that link. I've given it to you in the chat there, and let us know in the chat what happens when you run your mouse over my picture. And one of the things that this does, this pre-engagement technique, is that it's increasing curiosity. And we know that when people are curious, we know that engagement and also retention goes way up. So let me know what happens when you run your mouse over my picture at that link. So that's one way that you can increase curiosity. Rose says, my hair. What happens to my hair, Rose? Hydran is laughing. Yeah, so something happens to my hair in my picture. What happens to my hair? And by the way, for future you who are looking at this in video, I'll put those links in the video description. It blows up. Yeah, it just goes all over the place. Yeah. So that's kind of a fun way to get people curious, right? And to get them engaged even before they see me online. So a second technique for getting people in the right mindset when we're trying to pre-engage them is giving them a hook. So any ideas what I mean by a hook? What is a hook? So when we pre-engage folks, so this is an email that you'll send out to folks about the meeting or the event, and we want to use a hook. What is a hook? It's a teaser, yeah. But Mario, yeah, it can be what's in it for them. It's something that is a little bit unusual that gets them engaged, gets them interested, gets them curious. Yeah, exactly, Marlene. So an example, and this is a true example, is my hook. My true example hook right now is you're going to need a Kleenex after the break. So when we have a break, roughly at the top of the hour, I'm going to ask you to get a tissue or a Kleenex. And don't worry, it's not because I'm going to try to make you cry. So that's a hook, right? I'm trying to get you like, why am I going to need a Kleenex? Yeah, Joe, yeah, something intriguing. When I'm doing online, when I'm doing training of trainers, I might say something like, why you need to ditch the letter M in your public speaking. Right? So that's a hook. It's like, what does she mean by that, right? Getting people interested. And then another technique that you can do is you want your online meetings and events to be engaging and interactive. So you can set that up ahead of time. So you can see I sent you a link to a bingo card. So sometimes I'll send those out to people ahead of time, depending on what it is that I'm teaching. So I'm setting an example of how I want people to engage and interact. And I also gave you a resource there in the chat, how to design more bang for your training buck and get 3 for the price of 1. So there's another example there, or resource there rather. So that's what we can do before we even see people online. We can also post-engage people, right? We can also engage them after our online meeting or our online event. And 3 ways to do that are we can curate information. So for the roundtable, the Learning and Development Roundtable, I create a workbook a time-stamped video, PowerPoint, audio recording. All of those are curated for members so that they can engage with that content 6 months, a year, 2 days after the workshop. You can also get folks to fill in surveys. Now, oftentimes people aren't too excited about a survey, so offering a little, I'm putting some information here in the chat, offering a little prize or a thank you. Sometimes we'll have a chance to win a Life Lenses assessment. And sometimes I'll say at the end, I'll say at the beginning of the survey, if you fill this in, you get a little surprise at the end. And I'll put this, I'm not going to tell you because I think it's on the Roundtable survey. You get this funny, unusual little thing at the end. Olga, I can see that you just joined us. Special welcome to you, and know that you won last month's random draw from the Learning and Development Feedback Survey. So I will be emailing you your link to the free Life Lenses assessment. So congratulations. So nice to have you here, and thank you so much for your feedback. And it's very apropos because we're just talking about surveys. It's okay. I trust that you got here when you're able to get here. Okay, and another way that you can post engage. Oh, and by the way, just back to the curation. If you are going to do videos, it's really great to timestamp those videos. So what I explained earlier, Facebook makes that really, or not Facebook, YouTube makes it really, really easy to timestamp. So people can just click and it takes them exactly to that point in the video that they want to go to. Okay, so 3 ways to pre-engage, 3 ways to post-engage, including curating information, giving people a survey, but also thanking them and giving them something for giving you feedback. And then you can also do really fun, creative things like virtual quests. So I gave you a link to that, which is basically an escape room. So you have to kind of answer questions correctly in order to move through this virtual quest. And I also gave you a resource there, part 2, a blog post there. So anything else? What about you folks? Have you seen any interesting ways that people have pre-engaged or post-engaged people? Let me know in the chat, or you can unmute and let me know. So before we're meeting with folks, before the event, anything that you've seen to pre-engage people that's really caught your attention? Or any ways that you've seen that people post-engage? So this is after the meeting, after the event. You're all very quiet. Does that mean that you haven't seen any interesting things at all and we have a real need to fill? If that's the case, then you're going to completely look like a rock star. Padlets, yes, Angsar, yes. And apologies if I'm mispronouncing. If I ever mispronounce someone's name, feel free to DM me with the phonetic pronunciation. So Padlets, oh, Vanessa just asked, Padlets, I think I have a link later on in today's workshop. I think Padlets are fantastic. They're a really simple way of doing online engagement for people of any technical savviness. So I love to use them because they're not complicated. And Scar, if you have an example, feel free to put it in the link. And I'm pretty sure I have one later on. And I think it's just padlet.com. And you can have, I think, 5 free ones without having to pay, something like that. Celine, yeah, popping up questions, generating graphs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can both in Teams, you can do polls that continue on before and after the event. So polls on MS Teams are great. They're a little bit harder to set up than when we're working in Zoom, but the benefit to a poll in MS Teams is you can use one as a pre-engagement and a post-engagement. and the display of the data is fantastic. Not so great in Zoom, just because you can't, the polls in Zoom are only in real time. So you can't use a poll in Zoom to pre or post engage it, the poll that's built into Zoom. Hi, Melanie, welcome. Okay, great. Oh, so Ansgar is shared a Padlet. Terrific. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah, WhatsApp group, Olga. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great, or Facebook group, or, and you want to always go where your participants are. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great ideas there. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the secret sauce there, which is essentially your pre and your post engagement. So you've got 2 additional opportunities to look like a rock star and really engage people. Now I would love to introduce you to getting rid of this monkey see, monkey do, by figuring out what your bias is, And don't worry, we all have biases. So before I explain to you this concept, I would love for you can unmute and let me know, or you can put it in the chat. I would like you to think about going to a workshop. It could be in person, it could be hybrid, it could be online. And what is something, let me know something that you would want to get out of that workshop. So, and you can use today's as an example. So you've carved out time, you're going to a workshop. What is it that you're wanting to get out of that workshop? So let me know in the chat some ideas. Okay, and as you give me your comment, oh, that's not a good color. Hang on here. I'm going to put some marks on the screen here. Oh, come on. We want red so you can see it. Why is it not going to red? Okay, so we've got content ideas. Sorry, folks, I know it's green. It's not easy to see. Is engaging. Okay, engaging and informative. Okay, content. I'm really not liking this. Sorry, folks. I'm just going to try to change. I don't know why the color's not letting me change. Oh, there we go. Okay. Make it easier for you to see here. Engaging and inform. Okay, we got that. Not there. Content, ideas, and resources. Okay. Something practical that I can use for my, oh, nice. Okay. Progress on whatever it's about. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit hard one. Okay. New skills. Okay. Nice. Nice. Mariana, tools and fresh ideas. Okay. Great. Penny is saying tools. Okay. Joe is saying practical strategies that I can and will use. Nice. Okay. Put those there. Expanding my net. Oh, that's a good one. Expanding my network. Example, practical approaches I can apply right away. Okay. Here. To know who will do what after the meeting. Oh, nice. Okay. Penny, networking. Okay. And Vanessa, people to engage in the next, oh, nice. In the next meeting. And Mario, content I can use in the shortest possible time. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put that there and there. And Joe is saying time to talk to others to share thoughts about the content. Nice. Okay. Okay, great. Nice job. Shyam is networking. Okay. To co-create. Okay, put that one there. So great job with these. Any guesses what I'm doing here? So what is the S? What is the A? What is the K? What does the E stand for? Any guesses? And how many do we have? 1, 2, 3. We've got 6. Whoops. So we've got 6 S's. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 7 A's. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 9 K's. And we've got 5 E's. Yes, Sandra. Yeah. So S stands for skills. Absolutely. K stands for knowledge. E does not stand for example or engagement, but great guesses. So what's the A and the E? What's the A and the E? Yes, attitude, Melanie. Absolutely. Attitude. Yes. And Mariana, experience. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to clear these and let's go through each one quickly. Um, Okay, so when we're doing events, when we're doing online meetings, we tend to teach or facilitate how we like to learn, which is really biased, right? We all have our own preferences. So some of us will really focus on skills, 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 skills. Some of us will really focus on attitudes, so motivating people, connecting the content to mission, to vision, to values, to mindset. Others of us will really focus on knowledge, so information, theories, frameworks. They'll be really good at citations, those kinds of things. And then the E, this is the hardest one for folks. This is the piece, the only piece that takes place outside of our meeting, outside of the event. And it's all about supporting people to apply what they've learned. So we want to transfer that learning from the classroom, from the Zoom room, from the MS Teams room, from the boardroom, back into work life. So how can we support people to practice what they've learned, to implement what they've learned? So let me know. I'll give you, by the way, in a second, I'll give you a link where you can take a little survey to find out what your preference is. Because again, people will prepare and plan meetings and events based on how they like to learn. So feel free to put in the chat or you can unmute. What is the preferred order of importance? So in this survey that you can fill in if you wish, there's a very clear bias or a very clear preference. So which one do you think is most important? So would you spell it S-A-K-E? So skills are most important to people, then attitude, then knowledge, then experience, or what do you think is the order that this survey data tells us? Okay, so Sandra, axi, so attitude, okay. Pam is saying aches, so attitude again is first. Any other guesses? We have not got the first one. Oh, everyone's saying attitude first. This is so interesting. So Mariana agrees. Okay. Joe is saying case. Okay. We have not got the first one yet. Pam, E. Yes. Yeah, it's E. So experience is the one that is clearly rated highest in this survey, which again, I'll give you this link. But how many of us program into our meetings, into our events, how to get the learning to leave the room, right? How to get people to apply that learning. Okay, so here we go. Has anyone got it? So the first one is E. I don't think so. So this is what the survey tells us. So experience, which is fascinating, I think, because it's the one thing that people want the most. And it's the thing that, pardon me, that we least tend to put into our meetings and our events. So the thing that people are asking for the most is the thing that we are not incorporating into our work. The second one is skills. The third one is attitude. And the fourth one is knowledge. Let me tell you, when I did this workshop for a bunch of university professors, they were all skewed to knowledge, right? They were all skewed to knowledge. This was a really big learning for them. And of course, it's going to depend on the content right? The content that you're dealing with. However, all of these things are important, right? If we're not motivated, if we don't pay attention to attitude, we don't connect this to vision, to values, to mission, it's not going to be important to people. They won't care about it, etc. So I put the link there. This will also be all in the workbook for members. Everything, all the resources will be in one place. But you can take that survey if you wish, and later on, and it will help you determine what your bias is, what your preference is. So just make sure once you know what your preference is, it will also point you to the areas that you need to incorporate. So if your preference is skills, you'll automatically do that easily, naturally, and comfortably. If experience ends up being your last one, then you know that you need to work on that, like to be more deliberate about incorporating that. Okay, questions, comments, how are you doing? Feel free to put an emoji in the chat for how are you feeling right now. And there's no judgment if you are exhausted and barely hanging on with your fingernails there. But put an emoji in the chat. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Thanks, Mariana. Thanks, Ellen. Okay, that's great. Okay, nice. These are great emojis. Okay. Like the sunglasses. For folks watching this later on, there's emojis with a halo, with glasses, with a eyepiece, sunglasses. Okay, lovely. Okay, so congratulations, you're just about halfway through this very rich, we're covering a lot of ground here. So we've talked about your secret sauce, which is that pre and that post engagement. Let me know in the chat, do people in general, are you pre and post engaging folks in your meetings and your events? Are you generally engaging people pre and post, or no? Mario, yes, good. Mostly pre, says Vanessa, mostly post and Marlene. So Vanessa and Marlene, you would be a good match, maybe work together. It sounded depends on the meeting. Yes, it's very contextual. Yeah. Mariana, post, need to improve post. The interesting thing about post is that the post one is the experience piece, right? The let me apply this in my real world, in my real life. So post engagement also really, really helps with that experience piece. Okay, Joe is saying, no, I'm happy, but happy to learn how to do it. Yay. Cecilia, you need to improve. Okay, Hydron, does commenting on the draft meeting report count as post engagement? Yes, absolutely. Yes, Hydron. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and if your outcome is you're trying to produce a report, certainly. If you want to push it even further, what are people going to do with that report? So I did an engagement piece with a UNEP team, and we collected lots of data during the 2-day virtual or hybrid event. And then as a post engagement experience piece, so it happened after the 2-day event, and it was a way of helping them to apply what they'd learned. I did a data analysis session with the staff. So we took those who wanted to, everyone was invited, and those who chose to join. I did a very simple data analysis training, and then they went through all that raw data that we collected during the 2 days in order to come up with recommendations. And then those fed into the report, which is just now out to the team for comments. Actually not the report yet, the recommendations. Yeah. Okay, so we did the ditching the monkey see, monkey do by figuring out what is your preference. And there's nothing wrong with having a preference, as long as you recognize that other people won't always have the same preference as you. So make sure that you consciously, deliberately incorporate that experience, some skills, some attitude, some experience, and some knowledge in there. Okay, so the next piece is some really simple tips for increasing engagement that will help you look like the rock star that you are. So we'll probably, we'll go through this and then I'll see how you're doing energy-wise. We'll probably be, well, actually, let me ask you, are you ready for a break now, or do you want to do this piece and then have a break? Let me know. I know for some of you, it's early morning. Some of you, it's later, break later, do the piece. Let's do it later, better. Okay. Okay. So we'll do this piece and then we'll take a break. Okay. So super, super simple. Let's keep this. I like the KISS principle. Keep it super simple. So the idea here, the kind of umbrella piece here is, how do we motivate people and make them feel included, right? How do we motivate folks and make them feel included? So one of them is simply figuring out what kind of tone do you want to produce in your meeting, in your event, and being very welcoming. And research has shown Tech Change is a great organization for this. They do some really cool training. You can, it's very helpful if you use people's names. So it's tough. I've had 2 years, or 3, 4 years of practice now. But for example, in Zoom, I can see when someone is wanting to join, but it takes a few minutes between when I click to allow them to enter and when their audio is starting. So I try as I'm speaking to, like, okay, Cecilia's coming in, and then I hear a ding in Zoom when Cecilia's audio, like she's in the meeting, she can see and she can hear. So I have to wait a couple of seconds. Okay, Cecilia's joining. Don't forget to welcome Cecilia. Thank you so much for joining us. You're so welcome to be here. Alan, you've just joined. Super happy that you're here. So using people's names is really helpful with motivating and making people feel included. Oh, Mario's got to go in 5 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Mario. Thank you in advance for asking other people to join. I really appreciate that. And again, if you do want to get the resources, just make sure you're a member. Lovely to have you here, and good luck with your next meeting. Okay, the third one, this was a little bit, I was really surprised to learn this, is if we use contractions. So if we say isn't, or wasn't, or didn't, instead of did not, was not, is not, contractions help with engagement, right? Contractions help with engagement. So it's a little bit more informal speech. So if you try to use contractions, and then hearkening back to that SAKE tool, if you speak to mission and vision and values, if you have part of your brain focused on how do I support people, how do I make them, help them feel motivated. And I'll share this resource with you. This is based on a piece of research by the National Geographic Society. So I created a survey, and it shows 6 different ways that people can feel motivated. And so if you want to, you can take that survey at a later date, and you can try to incorporate different ways to motivate folks. Andrea's got to go. Oh, I'm so glad, Andrea. No, I'm not glad that you have to go, but I'm glad that it was informative. And again, if you want the resources, just make sure. Okay. And then there's also prayer time as well for some folks. Okay, so super, super simple, right? And by the way, so this piece on motivating and including, which of the SAKEs do you think that we're focusing on? So you've learned about the SAKE tool. So which of the SAKEs are we focusing on? Yeah, absolutely. Attitude, right? Helping people feel included. Like, how do they feel, right? Motivating them. Absolutely. Okay. So a couple more tips and then we'll break here. I made this into an acronym. So I eat. So here's some food for thought before we break. The I stands for intriguing. So can you do some kind of intriguing opening and closing? So I usually do the little storytelling for myself, give people a choice of those 5 items and which story do they want to hear about. And I relate those stories to whatever content it is. Any interesting openings or closings that you've seen in an event? Let me know in the chat. Any interesting openings and closings? And I hope you'll find the closing interesting. Music, yeah, putting music on. An interesting photo, yeah. Polls, word clouds, yeah, great. Yeah, and this is why openings and closings are so important. We know this from neuroscience, from brain science, videos, Philippe, yeah, that are particularly retention is highest at the beginning and at the end. Now, this is part of a larger piece of work, but in terms of a lecture, so if there's no engagement, right, if there's no what von Restorff calls colorful events, then our retention tends to be highest at the beginning and the end, which is called the primacy and latency or recency, primacy and recency effect. So make sure when you're opening and you're closing, you've done something really, really interesting. Okay, engage. This again comes, and I think someone mentioned this at the beginning of our time together. The research from Tech Change shows that, pardon me, that we should be engaging folks every 10 minutes. At least every 10 minutes. Now, what's the what's the main way that I've been engaging you? What's the main way? Yeah, in chat. Yeah. Yeah, asking you to respond. So asking questions. Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat here. Yeah, so the chat is fantastic because it's visual, right? Something people can see. It's also kinesthetic. People are, they're moving their fingers, they're typing. I've asked people if they wanted to say something auditory, they can, I asked people at the beginning to say hello, so to unmute. Yeah, and by the way, those serve 2 functions: to introduce tech in a very low risk way. So not embarrassing anyone, it's very simple, unmute. Because some folks super tech savvy, easy. Others are still continuing to struggle. Okay, so intriguing opening and closing. By the way, in the closing, we're going to come back to that clock. So that's going to be part of the closing too. Make sure that you're engaging every 10 minutes at least, and then asking questions, right? So the A of I.E.A.T is asking questions. So what's a question you could ask the group right now about the content? What's a question? Okay, so Sandra, do you agree with what's being presented? So that's a good start to a question. We ideally want to ask open-ended questions. So that's a closed-ended question. It's a great example of a closed-ended question. So a closed-ended question can be answered by yes or no. Pam saying, what's one thing you've taken away from today? What are you going to have for lunch today? Or what have you had for lunch today? Says Mariana. What's one thing that surprised you today? Oh, great question, Joe. Okay. I've said, what's the most interesting thing you've learned today? Yeah. So let's pick one of those questions and answer them right now. So pick one of those questions. Farzana, what tips have and haven't worked for you? Great. These are really great open-ended questions. And we can, with your permission, Sandra, we might massage, though, do you agree with what is being presented? We could maybe change that up a little bit to what particularly resonates with you about today's workshop, and is there anything that doesn't resonate with you? So we want to move that a little bit into an open-ended question. Okay, so feel free to answer one of those questions. And then we'll do the T. We'll do the T of I eat, and then we'll break. One takeaway, Joe says, using engaging ways to open and close. Nice, nice. Penny answering, what surprised? Experience and sake. I know, that was a big surprise. And I go back to that survey and I look at the results every once in a while, because as more people fill it in, of course, I get more data. Consistently, E has never changed. It's always at the top. Olga, what do you have for lunch today? I'm skipping lunch today on a diet. Oh, okay. Hope you take some water. Ellen, I will have some chicken for lunch. Nice. Philippe, surprise. I found a cricket on my window. Oh, wow. Sandra, I thought one needed to provide knowledge and skills so people could act. Yeah, Sandra, that's a great comment there. It's a bit of a scaffold, right? So people can't apply what you've taught them, the knowledge and the skills without that. But it's interesting to know that people's focus is on the application, on the experience. And I'm just constantly fascinated that the one that tends to get left out is the one that people are wanting. Okay, Pam, I found a reason to appreciate daylight savings. I slept in and thought I was an hour late. Okay, yay, Pam. Oh, this time of year is so hard because Kenya doesn't, I'm actually not in Kenya. I'm in North America right now, and Kenya does not change. We don't have daylight savings time. So this is a tough time of year. By the way, if anyone does, this is just a quick aside, if anyone does have that issue, when you're trying to plan a meeting, I generally use Overlap as my time zone app. But when this time of year, I used an app called Time Buddy. I don't know if this is an issue for anyone, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's called Time Buddy. The great thing about Time Buddy is you actually put the date in for a particular event or a meeting. So if half of your countries are doing daylight savings time and half of them aren't, it will take that all into account. So Time Buddy is great for this time of year. Okay, so we've got the I, we've got the E, we've got the A. I feel like I'm a cheerleader here. What do you think the T stands for? What is the T? Sandra, even Outlook is confused. Yeah, I think everyone's confused. Yeah, I'm sure I will go back to my email and we'll have people saying, I thought it was this time, I missed it, or whatever. Okay, what do you think the T stands for? And then we'll have a quick break. Time. Okay, yeah, talking about time. Good guess. Task, good guess, Santiago. Anyone else? I kind of just did it with Time Buddy. Time Buddy is an example of it. Tips, okay, good guess. Teach, tips, tools. Oh, kinda, Olga, you kind of got it there. Treats. Oh, I like treats. Oh, Penny, I love that. Okay, it's tech tools, right? So when we're doing online meetings, online events, there's so many tools, and I've done a number of roundtables just specifically on tech tools. So after the break, we'll dive into to some of them. Yeah, Mariana, technology. Yeah, exactly. And just before we break, so we've done these simple tips, right? And techniques to motivate people, etc. So which of the sakes are we looking at here? So bringing it back to the sakes, which sake are we focusing on with these tips? So we've got skills, knowledge. Yeah, both of those things, exactly. So it's skills, and it's not, Olga, it's not experience yet, because I haven't guided you to do anything yet outside of the classroom. Yeah, so it's skills and knowledge. Okay, folks, feel free to take a break. If I can ask you to be back and present and ready to go in 10 minutes. And also, please make sure you get a Kleenex, so a tissue, a piece of toilet paper, just something like that. You'll need that after the break. Angsar, you need to leave. Oh, okay, we'll miss you. Thank you for showing up. Have a good rest of your day. Okay, everyone, we'll see you back in 10 minutes. Thank you. Recording. Welcome back from your break. Let me know in the chat, what did you do on your break? I just had a little stretch and I'm trying to do, does anyone play Wordle? I'm just trying to do my daily Wordle. So welcome back. You've done a lot of, Mariana, you were feeding your cats, nice. Okay. Sorry, I still have that frog in my throat. Malik is just joining us. Sandra made coffee. Cecilia had a snack. Penny chatting to a friend. Oh, nice. So nice. That's great, Penny. Thank you for inviting your friend. Okay. So far we've talked about the secret sauce, which is pre-engagement and post-engagement. It's like getting 3 for 1. And how to ditch that monkey see, monkey do. So really pinpoint what is your bias, what is your preference with the sakes, and make sure that you are including all of those. And then some really, really simple tips, right? The I eat. So, and the T of the I eat was the tech tools. So let's do that first, and then we're going to do the FGLAs. So let me know, what are some tech tools that you have used in your online meetings and your online events? What are some tools that you've used? There's so many in the last 2 years. Mentimeter, yeah, that's a popular one. Google Jamboard, nice, Pam. Any other ones? So both of those are collaboration tools. Miro, yeah, Cecilia, again, another collaboration tool. Miro, Mariana also. You did not like, say more, Santiago, why you didn't like Jamboard? You did like YouTube videos. Yeah, YouTube videos, you can make playlists, you can timestamp them. YouTube videos, I think, are a really underrated tool. Any other tools? Because that's the real gift of online meetings and events, is being able to use these tools. I've shared a few with you already. Can you think back to some of the pre-engagement and post-engagement? Yeah, Penny, Google Docs, but forget how to use now. Yeah. So maybe you can look up a YouTube tutorial there. I use Google Docs every day. And in fact, that virtual quest that I was showing you, those are just Google Docs. That's all they are. MS Teams, Hydran is saying, yes. And there's so many tools within MS Teams. So the polling feature in MS Teams is fantastic. The ability to take pictures in MS Teams, you can put yourself in this beautiful kind of forest. You can put yourself around board tables. And Zoom has just started to do that. It's brand new in Zoom. Also in MS Teams, you can do annotation, just like in Zoom. Yeah, there's some really great features. Santiago Jamboard, I don't like it because it requires a lot of engagement from participants. It also needs to be used for very specific cases. It doesn't necessarily make a meeting workshop more participative. Oh, that's fantastic data. And what I love, Santiago, about that is that you're being in control, right? So the big important thing with these tech tools is figure out what is your need, and then find a tool that fits that need. Yes, Sandra, I like that in Teams you have access to the chat. Yeah, well, as a presenter, one of the downsides of MS Teams is MS Teams forces you to look at the chat or the participants. You can't see both at the same time. Hi, Farzana, welcome. Whereas in Zoom, you can see the participant list and you can see the chat. One little known thing in MS Teams is participants can scroll. If you're doing a presentation, they can go forward or backward. A lot of people don't know that in MS Teams. Oh, and I think perhaps the most unused tool in MS Teams is a wiki. So who has you? Oh yeah, rooms. Yeah, we're going to do that in just a little bit. Who's used a wiki in MS Teams? Santiago saying like Calendly for setting up meetings. Nice. Oh, Sandra, oh, I meant access to the chat after the meeting is ended. Yes, that's a great benefit to Teams. Technically, you can access the chat in Zoom, but you have to download that file and it's not a very easy formatted. Penny, what's a wiki? So a wiki is Hawaiian for quick. So think of Wikipedia and a wiki is a place, it's like a Google Doc can be a type of wiki where you just store a bunch of resources. So in MS Teams, you can very, very easily put the agenda, the PowerPoint, the videos, the links to everything from that particular workshop in one place. So, and I have hardly heard of UN staff using the wikis, and it's so powerful. Okay, yeah, it is. It's really great, Sandra. And just like the chats in MS Teams that you can access after the fact, you can access the wiki long after the event or the meeting is over. Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, these are just some I picked kind of at random. So I don't see a lot of annotation. In both Teams and Zoom, people can annotate. So I've just turned on the annotation for you. So you've seen me annotate the screen, but feel free to annotate the screen now. Just maybe put a little check or you can do whatever you want, put a little happy face or whatever. You can practice annotating. Penny's saying, so all the tools you shared in chat today, we won't be able to access. So the tools will be in the workbook. Yes. I'll put all of those resources in the workbook. So you can annotate as the facilitator or the trainer or the, whatever your role is. You can get participants to annotate. You can poll. Zoom and MS Teams have polling features. They're very different. There we go. Someone's annotating there. You can have an editable PDF. So that bingo sheet, that link that I gave you, once you download that, it's editable. So people can play bingo. I use editable PDFs all the time. You can use collaborative tools like Padlet, Google Sheets, Miro, the ones that folks were mentioning. Having breakout groups, both Zoom and MS Teams have breakout groups. You can do a group picture like I mentioned. You can have a little dance party. I'll often pull up on screen one of my Spotify playlists and get people to pick a song and just kind of have a little groove for a minute. You can also use a tool called Do Nothing for 2 minutes, which basically is just a little bit of a meditative, calm tool to use. And templates, right? You can use templates. So these are some links right here. I'll just share these in the chat. So I have what I call a Learning Well template. So I'll share that with people as a way of one way of documenting their learning. Oh, and folks had asked about Padlet. So here's another link to a Padlet and that bingo sheet again. So lots, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many tools. I'm going to just clear the screen here of the annotations. And by the way, in annotating, I can control, because it's my account, if others can annotate or just me, etc. And another thing I use a lot is Google Sheets. So this is from my work-life balance course that I teach, and getting people to rate different things in their personal life and their professional life? And during COVID, have they done more, less, or same of that? And the names at the top, Tiger, Peach, Exo, and Panda, are because I don't want to know. It's not necessary for people to rate these and have it be not anonymous. So people just pick a name. So it's really, really simple. I made an editable Google Sheet with drop-down menus that people choose, and those add up at the end of the sheet so people can see, wow, during COVID, I've done 18 things more, etc. Cecilia, I can see you've unmuted. Do you have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay, no worries. You're just testing me to see if I'm paying attention.
I'm eating my carrot.
Okay. Okay. So those are just a few of tech tools. And again, when we think back on the SAKE tool, which of the SAKEs, when I'm going over these tools, which of the SAKEs are we talking about? Skills, attitude, knowledge? What do you think? Experience, Sandra, could be. Anyone else? What do you think? Skills, so knowledge, yeah, Pam, yeah. So I love how there's some different opinions about what these are: skills, knowledge, and experience. Oh, Mariana, yeah, yeah. So, oh, Hydron says it depends on the tool. So what I was aiming for was some knowledge, right? Sharing some knowledge to build your skills, because a tech tool is a skill. It's not just a theoretical thing, it's a skill. And then I was also, you can tell me if I succeeded or not, but I was trying to be really supportive, right? There's nothing like a tech tool to make us want to, hit the screen or throw our computers over our shoulder. So trying to encourage you and make it seem really doable and not complicated. Pam saying, I've said knowledge 3 times already. I guess I know what my bias is. Yeah. Okay, Olga got attitude there. Yeah. So far I haven't supported you in applying your knowledge yet, but that's coming. Okay. So again, those are just some very, just a very few number of tech tools. I've done a couple of roundtables specifically on tech tools. And in fact, I'll just make a note. I will link to those in the workbook. So members get access to all the past roundtables. So you can always go back and look at others. Okay. Vicky, I'm loving the Spotify playlist one. Great idea. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I have like motivational Spotify playlists. I have dance ones. I have one for change, for social change. Oh, you're so welcome, Pam. There's some different messages coming in. My next goal for a Spotify playlist, there's something called Easter eggs, and Easter eggs are great for an experience piece and a post engagement. And I haven't done it yet, but you can make a playlist where the first letter of every song spells a word. So that could be a post engagement piece. If you want to bring people back and that word relates to your content, that could be a way to help them apply what they're learning. So I haven't done that yet, but that's on my list for this year. Okay, next one is our FGLAs. Actually, just before that, any other questions about the tech tools? Just before we move on. How are you feeling? So where one is, I just want to throw my computer out the window. I get really frustrated with tech. And 5 is bring it on. I love tech tools. Let me know in the chat. How are you feeling about tech tools right now? Santiago 6. Okay. 5, 5, 5. Okay. And no judgment if you're a 1 or a -5. Yeah. And what's really great too about some of the lower numbers is that one of the dangers of having a higher number is that you assume everyone else is there. So you might pick tech tools that are too hard for other people. So just be sure to think about for example, it's one reason why I love Padlet so much. It's so simple to use. So I never want the tech tool to get in the way of learning, right? The tech tools to just blend into the background and, people are able to do their thing. Okay. Okay. Padlet to Trello. Oh yeah. Yeah. I switched to Trello last year. Love that tool. It's great. Trello is like a little bit of a project management to-do list. I was using, what was the other? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Okay, so let's move on to our FGLAs, which is actually the last piece of work today before we close. And this is the piece where you'll really take it to the next level. So speaking of taking it to the next level, Olga's saying, I really think Padlet is better than Trello, though. Oh, yeah, depends on what you're doing, I think, right? Depends on what you're using the tool for. For me, I use Trello for project management, for monitoring clients, for my to-do list, all those kinds of things. So, yeah. And what I love, Olga, is you want to stay in the driver's seat, right? So you want to figure out what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to accomplish? How savvy are the people that I'm working with tech, and then you pick a tool. So Trello might be too hard for some people, right? It might be too hard. Okay, so I am going to invite you now I'm going to unspotlight my video, and I'm going to invite you to turn on your cameras. So if you're able to turn on your cameras, and no, there's no judgment if you're not able to turn on your camera. There's no judgment in that. If you are, that's great. And it's at this point where I would like for you to grab hey Penny, hey Cecilia, hey Joe. I would like you to grab your Kleenex or your tissue or your piece of toilet paper, whatever you had. There we go. And I am going to invite you to do whatever physically you're able to do. So feel free to modify if physically you're unable to do any of this. So feel free to take that Kleenex, that tissue, that piece of paper, and stand on one side of your room, your office. And I'd like you to try to blow that Kleenex to the other side of your room. Okay. Now it's going to drop. So wherever it drops, you pick it up and you blow it again. So where it drops, you pick it up and you blow it again. So feel free to do that as quickly as you can, as quickly as you can. Hi, Olga. Nice to see you. If that's a piece of paper, Olga, if it's too heavy, you can just tear a little piece off of it. So yeah, just feel free to adapt. So you want to get, I can see there's someone else in the room with you, Penny. People are watching, like, what are you doing? So you want to get that. And if you're not able to stand up, or there's people in your office that you don't, if you're in an office and you don't want them to watch you doing this, you can imagine yourself doing it. You can just maybe try to get it across your desk. I mean, whatever works for you. So feel free, Diana and Jane and Santiago and Sandra, Hydran, Vicky, Marlene, just do whatever works for you. Melanie, Farzana. Nice. Okay, so I am going to bring up the sharing the screen again. I can see people sitting down again. So just give me a second here. Okay. There we go. Okay, just let me know if you can see the deck again, the PowerPoint screen. And if future you are watching this and I hope that you had a chance to do that exercise. Okay, so this is an introduction. This Kleenex tissue piece is an introduction to a FGLA. So FGLA, feel free in the chat, or you can unmute, make up something silly of what it stands for. So flatulent giraffes laugh always, or yeah, freaking Geronimo's lightly ask. I mean, just feel free to make up something in the chat. What do you think FGLA stands for? FGLA. And it can, if you want it to, it can bear relation to reality or not. Figs with grapes, love all. That's great, Sandra. Frolicking galas, laugh aloud. That's great, Penny. Anyone else? Those are so good. Okay, well, this is my term. If you Google this, you won't find this elsewhere. This is my term for, it stands for facilitated group learning activities. So FGLAs are facilitated group learning activities. And these are, oh, Olga's saying focus groups in Latin America. That's great. So this is what really takes your meeting or your event from, it's okay, it really pushes it to the next level. And FGLAs are all about showing, then telling. Okay, so we want to show and then tell. This is what von Restorff calls a colorful event. Right? So it can be a video, it can be a crossword puzzle, it can be a virtual escape room, it could be blowing a piece of Kleenex, right? All sorts of different things. What's really important about FGLAs is sometimes we think that, in English, we have this saying, put your nose to the grindstone. So we want to work really hard. And you think about that, that involves blood, right? And we think that we have to suffer. And we actually ignore the neuroscience. So when people are engaged, and FGLAs are the best way to engage people, our retention goes way up. Right? So when people are engaged, retention goes way up. So in fact, here's a graph from von Restorff. So if you look at the green lines there, I showed you before the blue line, the primacy and the latency. The green lines are colorful events. So I could have lectured you about what a FGLA was, but instead, I actually wanted to do a FGLA to demonstrate. So I had you do the Kleenex exercise, and now I'm going to tell you about it. So with this particular exercise, what was it like for you doing that? What were you focused on? So you can unmute or you can put it in the chat. So when you were moving that Kleenex, that tissue, what were you focused on? There's a lot of things you could have been thinking about. Welcome, Philippe. Joe was focused on speed. Oh, nice. Okay, good answer, Joe. So getting it done quickly. Penny was focused on keeping it in the air. Nice, nice. Anyone else? So I'm demonstrating what a FGLA is by doing a FGLA. So we did an exercise and now the learning piece is going to come in. Getting to the end of the room. Oh, great. Great comment, Diana. Great comment. It's nice to have you here, Diana. Olga wanted to get it to go as far as possible. Nice. So in one breath, I'm guessing. Okay, so we can liken this, believe it or not, we can liken this to creating really good, interactive, engaging online meetings. So if you think about, pardon me, if you think about where you focus, some of you in your comments were focused on the journey or the process, right? How do I keep this in the air? How do I get it to go as far as possible? That's the process or the journey. And some of you were focused on the destination. Get that to the end of the room as quickly as possible. Get it done. Get that thing ticked off the list. And with really good online meetings and events, both of those things are important, right? We want to focus on the journey, on process, and we want to focus on destination. What are our goals? What are our objectives? If you have one without the other, it's a really lopsided event. And again, you'll probably have a preference, right? For those of you maybe who are focused on get that Kleenex to the end of the room as fast as possible, potentially when you're planning your events, you may be focused on destination, destination, destination. And for those that were focused on process, maybe that's your gift when you're planning your online meetings and events. So examples of journey is how do we pre-engage? How do we get people to be curious? How can we link things to mission, vision, and values? How do we post-engage? For destination, it's about having a clear agenda. Where are we at in the agenda? How can we gather content that we can curate later, right? We can share through wikis, we can use tech tools to collaborate, etc. So I invite you now to take a turn. So I am going to divide you into small groups with your permission. I know this is very fun and easy for some and a little harder for others. So just be sure you're just going to be in groups for like, I think it's about 8 minutes or so, and then we'll close. And just make sure to introduce yourself, and then you can talk about what's one thing that you can focus on for the process, for the journey, and what's one thing you can focus on for the destination or the outcomes, the goals. Hydran, thanks for coming. Oh, and Sandra's got to go too. Thank you for those who need to leave now. So we're going to do this for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to close, and you'll see the example of the experience piece. Okay, so I'll put you into small groups. I will send you the instructions in your breakout rooms. So let me just, so you'll see a thing pop up on your screen. You need to accept that, and then just have a nice little chat in your group. If it feels too complicated to talk about a journey and a destination, you can talk about what's one thing that you want to try from what you've learned today in your next online meeting. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Let me know what you chatted about as we start to think about closing for today. We've got a few. You're talking about me. Okay. Do I want to ask what you're talking about for more detail? Any examples of a process, a journey thing that you can do, or a destination, a goal, or any discussion on what was the highlight of your time today? What's one thing you want to try going forward with more interactive, engaging online meetings? Any examples? Penny, all good, I promise. It'd be okay if it wasn't too. Okay, any examples, anything you want? And you may not want to share what you talked about in a small group, that's fine. Small groups are a real, what's the word? People tend to either really love them or really like, please don't do a small group. So I use them. I try to use them, but you know, Joe, we admire the way you set an example of everything you present: welcoming, acknowledging, engaging, and training. Oh, thanks, Joe. Santiago, I've never felt so engaged in a 2-hour long training. Yes. That makes me feel great, Santiago. It would be pretty hard to teach how to engage folks online if I wasn't engaging. So that definitely is my goal. And Santiago, think about what made it engaging for you and then replicate that. Like, what did you respond to? What was helpful for you? And was there stuff that you didn't like that you don't want to replicate? Penny, we were talking about your presence, welcoming facial expressions. Thank you, which helped engagement. Yeah, I think that the bar is usually so low that you don't have to do much to make things engaging, right? So as we move forward here with our summary, you've done, I mean, I really, really want to congratulate you. The world is particularly upside down right now. You know, things are just continuing on. So you made time for yourself. You made time to learn. You made time to reach out and be with other colleagues from all over the world. So that is something really, really significant and something that I'm really grateful for. And you learned about the secret sauce, so the pre and the post engagement. You learned about how to ditch the monkey see, monkey do by figuring out your preference or your bias with the sakes, and how important it is to include all four of those. And I gave you a link for a survey so you can figure out what your preference is, what your bias is. And whatever your preference, your bias is, that's great. Just make sure that you include the other ones, especially the one that you cut that comes in fourth for you, because those will be the ones you tend to forget. We did some really simple techniques, the I.E.A.T, and we did some tools, some really tip of the iceberg, a few tech tools. And then we did the FGLA, right? So how can you take something and really add that colorful event? So you're showing and then you're telling, right? So you blow the Kleenex, right? Are you more focused on getting to your goal, or are you more focused on the process? I could have done that without the Kleenex, but the Kleenex is that FGLA makes it more interesting, more engaging. It gets people like, what are we doing? Why are we blowing a Kleenex here? Okay, as we shift into closing again, any questions? Do you have any questions or any comments, anything you want to add from your own wisdom, your own experience? Any questions or comments? Santiago, ideas for effective FGLAs. Yeah, I mean, it will really depend on your content, but videos are good, you know, funny videos that make a point. I have a whole, I keep a whole YouTube playlist. In fact, I send out a blog once a week, like a newsletter once a week. And at the bottom of that, every blog post is something more to learn, something to laugh, and something to lead. And every laugh one is a funny video that's related to that content. So the FGLAs is kind of the hardest piece because it's so specific to your content. But you can take an icebreaker and push it into a FGLA. Like an icebreaker's, it's such a good question. So an icebreaker's main aim is to help break the ice for people to feel comfortable. It's generally not to learn something, but sometimes you can take icebreakers and push them into a FGLA. So make them a little bit more related to your content. But crossword puzzles, virtual quests. I gave you a link to the bingo card. I gave you a link to the virtual quest. Virtual quest can be, I gave the virtual quest one example I gave you is based on learning, but you can make a simple virtual quest based on whatever content it is that you're focused on. You can do crossword puzzle. Armored Penguin, it's a really weird name, but armoredpenguin.com, you can make word searches and word crossword puzzles very easily. It's not a very aesthetically nicely designed site, but it's really easy to use. Padlets can be made into, the example I gave you was, what's your vision for wellness? So that's a FGLA. Yeah, lots of different ways to think about that. Any other questions? Okay, I've got a DM here. Oh, that's very kind. Someone I met 30 years ago at an Ontario Society for Training and Development conference. Wow, that was a long time ago. I'm so glad you showed up. Thank you so much for coming. So the one thing that we haven't done is the experience piece, right? Is the how do I help you? How do I, when we leave our the call today, how do I help you apply what it is that you've learned? So I invite you at the beginning of today, we did the clock exercise. So pick one of your appointments. It could be your 2 o'clock. If you don't have a 2 o'clock, it doesn't matter. Like just pick one of your appointments. And before we close, which is only in a minute or two, so make sure that you get that person's email so you can DM them. So maybe Ellen and Farzana were meeting, so you two want to DM each other, because I invite you by Tuesday to have a conversation. You can decide if it's going to be by email or WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, it's up to you, but talk about your highlights of today's workshop and 2 things that you're going to try. Right, so 2 things that you're going to try. So make sure, because I don't share contact information with folks. I keep that all private. I never ever share your contact information. So make sure that you have the contact information of someone in the group so you can follow up with them. And then finally, again, if you do want to get the workbook and all of those things, make sure that you're a member. I will, I'll just share these links again here quickly so you can copy these from the chat. Just give me a second here. So the link to join is there. There is the link. Please share it with at least 2 folks if you found value today. I'd love it to get your support in building our community. So share that membership link with them and invite them to join. There's a Facebook group, so we keep in touch between meetings. You can join that. Please fill in the feedback form and then you get entered to win a free Life Lenses assessment. If you are a UN staff, make sure that you sign the attendance sheet. And mark your calendars. April 21st is our next hybrid. So this, by the way, the clock and all of these things is the experience piece, right? So I'm trying to support you in applying what you've learned. So that's the experience piece. Again, and I know I say this a bunch, but I always get questions about it. Only members have access to the workbook and the recordings and the PowerPoint and all of that kind of stuff. And then finally, if you have some needs around team building or tech tools or training of trainers, don't hesitate to get in touch. I'd love to chat with you about supporting you and your team and doing some work together. So thank you so much, everyone. Feel free to unmute and say goodbye to everyone and maybe say a wish to our group, something that you wish for people in whatever language you wish. So on the count of 3, unmute and say goodbye and a wish that you have for everyone. 1, 2, and it can be in whatever language you wish. 3, go ahead.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. My wish for you is stay well, stay safe, stay creative, stay learning, and I hope to see you next month. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
It's monthly.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.